Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to give you an in-depth review about Story Architect. Now if you haven't heard of this before, you probably know or know somebody who's probably used the first iteration of Story Architect, which was known as Kit Scenaris. Now the designers of Kit Scenaris have poured all of their knowledge from creating that program into what we're going to review today in Story Architect. Now we're going to look at Story Architect and see how it stacks up and give it the Screenwriting Scribe's review, which is my way of scoring how good I think a screenwriting software really is. Now in that final score, we're going to look at the 5 following things. We're going to look at price, features, ease of use, resources, and my favorite, communication. Because if your software company doesn't communicate with you, it's really hard to use the product, because if you have problems with it, who else are you going to go to? Well, probably to me, because I can hopefully get a hold of them. So stick around to the end of the video and see how I think Story Architect stacks up. So the first category we're going to look at today is price. And as always, I'll point out that there is a free version of the software. And as I always say, try before you buy. Or kick the tires, as I always say. Now there is 2 other versions of the software, which we'll look at here in just a second, which has 2 different price points. The first one is the Pro, which costs $40 a year. Yes, I said that right. A year, not a month. $40 a year. Or it has a cloud version, which costs about $80 a year for subscription. And we'll take a look at those different price points and what you get for those here in just a moment. All right, let's look at the pricing model. The thing that I want to point out before we get too farther is that there is a 30-day trial for the Pro and the Cloud version, so you can try them out before you buy them to see if you like them or not. I really enjoy that feature, and I've been using that, and I'm interested to see what the difference is going to be between the Pro and the free, and so I'll do a video on that later on to see how big of a difference there is. So let's take a look at what you get for free. You can get unlimited number of projects, unlimited number of documents per projects, characters. You get basic information, locations, basic information, meaning basic questions about who this character is and what they are. We'll take a look when we look at the features section about what some of these extended questions could look like. We have basic information about the worlds. For screenplays, you got pretty much the basics. Log lines, title page, script text, basic statistics. Now, the interesting thing about Story Architect over Kit Scenaris is you have more than just screenplays. Now you have comics, you have audio dramas, you have stage plays, you have novels. And you can see what you all have. And you can experience all these in the free version. I think that's pretty sweet. So that's something that's pretty cool. So now if we end up paying, now you can do, again, 2 ways to do this. So let's take a look at the Pro now. So if you look at the Pro, again, you can either get a lifetime license for $120 for a lifetime. That includes all the updates, which I think is a killer deal. If you can't afford that, again, subscription based, $3.34 annually. How can you beat that? Like $40 a year. A year! That is pretty sweet. So the thing to keep in mind with the Pro version is you get everything free from the free version. You get mind maps and image galleries, which is becoming a thing now that I've noticed in a lot of screenwriting programs, is they're giving you the ability to see who you're talking about, which I think is interesting. I think that's pretty cool. So you get to talk about character relationships. You have extended info and dialogues from all the stories that you can use. You have location map, again, extended info, and we'll talk about that here in just, like I said, a couple minutes when we look at the features. So the other interesting thing I noticed with screenplays is you can only use a corkboard if you have the Pro version. Not a big fan of that. I know why they do it, and it's really easy to do, but I'm not a big fan. I think that you should have that in the basic version, the free version, but totally understand why they threw it in there. Don't agree with it, but you know. Now, some planned stuff they have for novels is they're going to have an image editor and web page links for novels. In screenplays, a beats editor and timeline. In comics, page and panel visual editor, and novels, beat editor as well as timeline, which I think is good, because I like all the pre-work that you have in that Story Architect has, because I think anytime that you can help have pre-work in where you're working on your script, it's going to make it easier for the writer. So good job for you guys. I really appreciate that being included. I wish it was included in free, but you know, like I said, they got to charge for something. So the differences between this version and The cloud version, you can synchronize across all devices. You get 5 gigabytes of cloud storage. You get script breakdown. And for plan for 2023, you get showrunner tool. So if you're going to be looking into showrunners, beats for the entire season, cards for the entire seasons, pages, numbers locking, and storyboard. So there's some really cool stuff that is going to be coming up for in terms of the cloud version. And you notice you cannot buy a lifetime membership to the cloud. You do have to pay. You do get a 20% prorated with a lifetime membership, though. So just you are. I'm interested to see how those particular tools look. And again, you can always try the tools out because again, the cloud version does have a 30-day period trial available, and it's really nice. It's really innovative when it. I should say it's really not invasive when you work on this. You know, it sent me maybe like 1 email or 2 emails saying, hey, just you have 10 days left, or you have 5 days left, or today's your last day, that type of stuff. So they're not very intrusive at all. So there is our pricing. Our second category is features. Now, Story Architect is a desktop app. It's available for Mac, PC, and Linux. And at the time of it's not available on Android, iPads or iPhones, though the bad thing is they do have that in their picture on the website, though it's still in development. So I bet down the road they'll have these different features. So again, that's one thing I need to touch on as we look at the features that we're going to look at today, is all of these are where we're at now. That doesn't mean that there won't be more features added. Story Architect is much like Kitsonaris, is a work in progress, and so they're not done with the work yet. So they're still working on stuff, which is a pro and a con when you think of features, because some of the features that you see now might not be included in the final version of the software, but there's also things that could come up that are not included now that will be included in the final version of the software. So let's take a look a little bit more into the features of Story Architect. So one of the things as we begin to think of features, I want to talk about the AI assistant, because Story Architect is one of the only screenwriting software programs I know that does have a AI assistant. And so here's what the tools can do. They can help paraphrase, they can help supplement the text, to shorten the text, to insert new text between 2 other paragraphs, to summarize the text, to translate, and to generate text based on prompts. And again, as I talked about in the previous section on price, so for each credit each credit equivalates to about 1,000 words. So they actually do give you a fair amount per credit in order when you're working with it. And like I said, you can always buy more credits. And the credits I don't think are obscene in terms of cost, but that's my opinion. So one of the things I want to point out in Story Architect versus many other screenwriting programs is that in Story Architect you can use other things. You can write a comic, you can write an audio drama, you can write a stage play, and you can also write novels. So the nice thing about Story Architect, for its low price of $334 per month, or again $120 for a lifetime, is you can also use this for other different types of creative media. And I think that's one thing that needs to be said about this, is it's just not a screenwriting program anymore. They've really branched out and allowed a person to work in different creative fields with using the same program, which I think is wonderful, especially at the price that it's offering. The next feature I'd like to talk to you about is the character set of questions here. So I'm going to just pull up a random character from one of my screenplays here, and you can sort of see what I mean when it talks about this. Most other screenwriting software doesn't have this type of thing. So I have the name of the character. I can add a photo if I like. I can have a story role. I can undefine it. I can define him as either a primary, secondary, or tertiary character. We have age. We have gender. We have short-term goals, long-term goals, initial beliefs, change beliefs, what leads to change, first appearance, plot involvement, conflict, most defining moments. Personal information. You can see all the things that go with that. You have physique questions. What does the person look like? And it's just not like hair, eye color. They go into a lot of different things. Is there a distinguishing feature? What's their posture? Life. You can talk about a whole bunch of things, what their habits, what their health is, what their speech is, their pets, something always carried, maybe weapons or tools. I mean, they really go in detail. Attitude, what's their motivation? What's their greatest fear? biography, what's important past events. So that's one of the features I really have appreciated here within Story Architect is this ability to look at characters more deeply. And you can do this with locations as well too. So one of the things I think that is sort of an unsung feature is this ability to really zero in on your characters as well as zeroing in on locations and stuff like that. One of the other features you get in the Pro version is you get the ability to show you how many scene headings you have. You have the text statistics, you have scene statistics, you have location statistics, character statistics. Basically, there's a lot of fun stuff in here, depending on what you want, and you can just unclick the stuff that you don't want or you do want and that type of thing. Now, our third category is ease of use. Now, if you've used any other screenwriting editor before, this one is pretty easy to pick up. It's basically very similar to anything else you've used, like in Final Draft, Fade In Pro, Arc Studio Pro. Now, the nice thing about this, I even thought the way that they integrated the AI into the Screenwriter editor was also done very well. And if you want to see more of how I use the editor, I'm going to link in the description below my first impressions video, so you can have more of a step-by-step guide as to how I sort of did things. You can sort of see how I looked at different things there. This leads us into our next category, resources. Now, this section is a little sparse, but I also understand why. So their main effort right now is trying to put together the final product. Now, they do have a YouTube channel. It's called Story Architect TV, which has 18 subscribers and one whopping video. And if you do look at their blog, they do have blog updates, but they're not screenwriting blogs. They are just based on their development. So right now, they don't have a lot of other resources to help you as a young writer figure out how to go to that next level. And finally, communication. Like their communication with Kitsoneris, the folks at Story Architect are great at getting back to you. I know this in the past when I was trying to get a hold of them with stuff for Kitsoneris. They had a little disclaimer that said, hey, it might take us 48 hours to get back to you, but we will get back to you. And they always did. I always appreciated that too. When people tell you, hey, if it's going to be longer than 24 hours, just so you know, this is how long it might take. Now, with Story Architect, I haven't had that type of email come to me, but what I have noticed so far is that they're pretty fast. I think most of the responses I've asked have been answered within less than 24 hours. And I wish more companies would be this responsive. It's been really a breath of fresh air to see how quick and engaging they are with their customers. So as we finish up our review here for Story Architect, I rate on a 5 reel system. 5 being the best and 1 being, ooh, that's not good at all. That's being bad. So 1's not a good sign. So for price, I give Story Architect 5 reels. Now, they really have a really low yearly subscription. I mean, $40 for the whole year. I mean, that's just freaking awesome. I mean, I know a lot of subscription programs ask for $40 a month. I think, again, that's great. Plus, if you want to have an option to buy a lifetime license, that's priced pretty affordably. It's there as well, too. You know, they're only charging you $120 at the time of this video. So it caters to folks like me who like to have a one-time fee to buy the license. But it also, for people who can't afford that $120, it's a really inexpensive subscription model. So I love the price, the flexibility in price and the way that you could pay the price. Great job, guys. I wish more companies would do this. Features. I give Story Architect 4 reels. I was debating with 3 reels because of the lack of mobile device availability. However, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they will add this later on in the process of putting this together. Again, this is not a final product. What sets this apart for me and why I gave it a higher score was the integration with AI. There's not a lot of other programs out there that do a good job of integrating AI into the screenwriting program. And I also like the pre-work that you could do as well. It was really nice to be able to work on characters and locations and have the software ask you this list of questions, which I think is really nice because it really helps you flesh out characters as well as locations. The other thing I almost forgot to mention, the other reason why I gave it such a high score, is because it's more than just screenwriting. You can work on comics, you can work on a myriad of other different things as well too, and I think that's nice. It's actually allowing Story Architect to sort of slide into competition with Scrivener, because Scrivener has some other different options besides just screenplays that you can write to. So I'm really interested and really excited to see what Story Architect does with these particular features. Ease of use for reels. I found this pretty easy to use. Not as nice aesthetically as maybe something like Art Studio Pro, but it was still very easy to figure things out. So this would be a nice software to get started if you're just new to writing. It's really easy to use. Like I said, I really like the menus where you can just hover over it and it'll tell you what it does. I think that was really nice. A great quality of life thing that they put in there. Now, the one thing that drives me nuts with these particular designers is that they always option the spell checked off as a default. So I always have to go in and make sure the default setting it was switched to on. But it doesn't take a lot to do. It's just annoying. Yes, very annoying. But I mean, in terms of easy use, it's really easy to go in and switch that. You just need to know to do that. I'm not going to mark them down for that. But other than that, no, it's easy to use. Like I said, a beginner shouldn't have any problems using this. Resources, 1 reel. But here's the disclaimer when it comes to that rating. They're just in the process of finishing the program. So all their energy is sort of put into creating a wonderful product. And so so take this particular rating with maybe an asterisk or a little bit of salt. However, as I say that, though, if you look at their last editor, Kitsonaris, I was the one who created a lot of their content for them, which I don't mind because it helps grow my YouTube channel and stuff like that. But it seems like making content isn't really their strong suit, which is fine. But it just means this part of the rating, it will just be pretty small. Communication, 5 reels. So in as much as I didn't like their resources, I think they make up their communication score in spades. Again, 5 reels. If I could give them more, I would, because they're very good at communicating. I always feel like if I have a question about Story Architect or Kitsonaris and I don't know what's going on, I simply email them and they help me figure it out. They're really good about that. And they're very, like I said, I've been really impressed with their communication. I normally get a response within 24 hours. If it's going to be a longer delay, they let me know in the email, hey, it's going to be a little bit longer, but we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I mean, that is sort of the definition of great communication. So good job as always, guys. 5 reels again. So out of a total of 25 reels, I give them 19. For a screenwriting software that's still in the midst of its design, Story Architect is putting out a very solid product. Now, I really like the integration of the AI into the writing process. If you want to use it, you don't have to use it. I've been talking about it, but you do not have to use it. It's there if you need it, and it's not very intrusive, which I think is great. I like the flexibility in being able to buy Story Architect outright or maybe do a subscription model if I can't afford to pay $120 for us. And I know if you like the interface and you like how Kitsonaris work, you're probably going to like how Story Architect works. Now, with all those things being said, there's some cons in still picking up the software as well too, because it is a work in progress. So it's not available for mobile devices yet. We don't know all the features that are going to be added or the features that might be taken away. Hopefully there won't be any. But there's still bugs. I mean, you're still working on a program, so there's still bugs that pop up from time to time, though they do a really good job of doing updates and fixing stuff like that. Those things still do happen. And it doesn't have a very big resource section to help beginning writers as well. Though, as always, I'm always happy to fill the void too. So if there's particular content you want to know about Story Architect, just let me know down in the comments section below. I'm always happy to do that. But overall, I don't think you can go wrong with this one. It's a very solid entry, and 19 is really pretty good in terms of quality of screenwriting software out there. And it could go higher too, depending what features they have, depending if they start working on their resources. I mean, that's the only category they really didn't excel in was resources. And again, if that's not your cup of tea, you might really enjoy this particular piece of software. Hi, if we're meeting for the first time, my name is Paul from Screenwriting Scribe. I make videos about screenwriting software as well as screenwriting in general. So if these are topics that you find interesting, feel free to hit the like button below as well as the subscribe button. If you have any questions about screenwriting software, feel free to hit me up down below. I do my best to get those answers for you. You can look through all my other videos and see where people have asked me questions. And sometimes I actually make videos out of those topics because a lot of people might be asking the same question. I'm going to leave you with a video about my top softwares for 2023. We're getting close to 2024, so we'll see how the list changes. There's been some new additions, and I think some people might have actually fallen off the list this year because there's a lot more fierce competition within the screenwriting software industry. Well, until the next video, live well and write well.